Welcome back, Wealth Builders. Michael Rosmer here with Richucation. Excited to continue with you our Ultimate Productivity Guide. Hopefully, you're implementing some of this stuff. Hopefully, these two, you've already boosted your personal productivity. Here, you've created compounding, and we're going to get into the fourth component, which is going to be, again, it's like kind of one of these blurred lines between the two. And it's going to be something that you can, actually this one stacks on top of it. Okay, so this is the subject of planning. All right, does planning boost your productivity? When done well and in moderation, yes. There's a story somebody said, an hour of planning or 10 minutes of planning in the morning will save you an hour throughout the day. Is that true? Depends on the situation, Planning. What is this all about? This is about how we organize ourselves and our resources, which means our time, our money, our, etc., in order to get more done. Okay? So planning will absolutely help us get more done. There's lots of different systems for this, etc. And we're going to go through basically 3/4 what I would call planning components. Okay? And I'll give you guys a little bit of one or two tools that are common in project management. There's more of this in the actual management section, but here we go. Okay, so the first is the subject of batching. Okay, so really, what is batching? Batching is the idea that we do a whole bunch of things at once. So for example, rather than running to the grocery store for every one little thing, I go there, there's a cost of that, right? So instead, I create a list, I go twice a week, right? And I get a whole bunch of things all at once. That's batching, okay? Rather than doing one email at a time, I sit down and I do all my emails at once, twice a day. Rather than, whatever, okay? I find some ways. Now, should you always batch? No. Sometimes small batch sizes is more efficient, right? And that's part where the planning comes in. Am I better off to sit down, maybe I have gaps in my schedule, because really productivity is all about time, right? It's all about how do I get more done with less time. Yeah, with less resources in general, but the biggest one being time. I want less time to pass, and I want less time passing is probably the biggest thing. So this is really about reducing your time frame. We're going to write that down. Okay? Reducing time frame. Alrighty. And what is time frame? Time frame is how much time has passed. Not how much time we've put in, but how much time has passed. Okay? So, and of course, how much time we put in affects how much time has passed, but that's the big key. Okay, that's what productivity is really it's one of the things that it's all about. It's reducing time frame while increasing output. I guess those two pieces. So, batching, there's going to be cases where batching is extraordinarily helpful, and a lot of people who are not conscious will do these little one-offs. Very bad idea. It's not efficient. If you can batch, it's going to help to improve what it is that you're doing. What goes along with batching, though? The thing that goes along with batching is projecting. What is projecting all about? Projecting is about figuring out what is it that we need in advance. Okay? If we figure out what we need in advance, then we don't waste. So as an example, if I overproduce, that was wasteful. So that undermined my productivity. Okay? If I think, okay, I need to, set a certain number of table settings, right? So there's a certain amount of time that's fixed just to get things out, and then there's a certain amount per place setting, right? And I have the wrong number of people who are coming, and so I end up putting out too much. Well, what does that do? That reduces my productivity. What if I end up putting out too little? That reduces my productivity. So your planning process should be a lot about assessing what's needed, okay? That, should be pretty self-explanatory. This requires thinking in advance. So people will talk about, planning your day out the night before, not a bad idea, or first thing in the morning, not a bad idea, right? The whole point is take some time out. There's not a specific rhythm, I wouldn't say, that planning should apply for everyone. Should you do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual planning? Not necessarily. Sometimes you need to plan 3 times in a week. Sometimes you need to plan every day. Sometimes you need to plan 5 times a month. Sometimes you need to plan every month, right? But be aware that planning is going to radically improve your productivity. If you can, kind of like, okay, here's the thing. The bigger the task, more long-term, the more complexity, etc., the more planning will matter. Should you sit down and plan out how to do the groceries? Probably not. Well, groceries, dishes, sorry. Should you, plan it out? Probably not that big a deal. Throw your dishes in the dishwasher, get back to it, because the amount of time you're going to spend planning it is more of an issue. Now, plan it, you might have a templated process, right? You might have a systemized process, so that could come into the planning. It's thinking about it, planning what's most efficient, then you systemize it, you template it, etc. So these layer onto each other. You can build to last plans, okay? And those could help you quite a bit. But anyway, batching and projecting are the first two. The next two, which kind of go together, are scheduling and sequencing. Okay? What's the key about this? The key about scheduling is not that everything needs to be scheduled. Okay? Some things it's like, I sometimes say what gets scheduled gets done, and there's a certain accountability piece to that. But the real key with scheduling is avoiding doing things inefficiently. Okay? And I'll give you 2 examples. One is, I schedule a call with someone. Why do we schedule a call? Because we want to avoid telephone tag. We want to avoid calling the person 16 times and not getting through. So it's easier to be like, hey, let's chat on Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Perfect. Okay? Now we can connect easily. And so usually that process of doing the scheduling between the 2 people is more efficient than just picking up the phone and calling. Might not be. There's certain environments where it's better to just pick up the phone and call the person, right? Say we're messaging back and forth by text message right now. I might just say, can you talk now? Yes. Great. Call. Perfect. We're done. But this is the one thing, okay, is scheduling. The second is doing it when it's most efficient, okay? So an example of this is scheduling when I'm going to go out, all right? So I try and avoid rush hour. It's just not efficient. To be in traffic during rush hour is not efficient. So I'm going to schedule when I'm going out to be times when there's less traffic so that I'm able to get more done, right? I have a lower cost. That's the key of scheduling, okay? What goes along with it is sequencing. Sequencing is very important. I love this project management tool. It's my favorite project management tool. There's kind of like different types of charts. Something called a WBS chart. There's a work breakdown system. So you break your work down into different pieces. You have Gantt charts. You have things. I love PERT charts. Okay, and PERT charts, basically the way they work is they show you have these things, and there's a sequence to what you can do. So as an example, before I can build a website, I need to have hosting and a domain. Okay, usually I get domain, then I get hosting, then I build the site. In order to build the site, what do I need? Well, I need a logo, I need some copy, I need a layout, I need a template, I need certain things, right? And so you have all this stuff, and you sequence it out, and then you show how long is it going to take. And there's certain things that can run in parallel, right? And so to be most efficient to get from here to here, how you organize that sequencing matters. Because if one thing is going to take 2 weeks, and another thing is going to take a week, I want to make sure I start the thing that's going to take 2 weeks before I start the thing that's going to take 1 week, because otherwise I'm just going to be sitting there waiting, right? I can do the thing that's going to take 1 week, like a little bit later, say, I don't know, whatever. You have like certain resources, right, that you allocate. And so this is where sequencing comes in. This is like, I might choose to do one task over another because somebody else is waiting on me, okay? So I say, okay, fantastic. People are waiting on me, so that's a higher priority task because of the fact that they're waiting on me. So they're doing nothing. The moment I give it to them, they can be doing something. Now I go back to my task that only I'm doing, and now we're both working in parallel. Versus, if I sit down and I do my task that only I can do, Now I go and do the task that's dependent on them. Now what am I doing? I'm sitting there waiting. Okay? So figuring out sequencing is a big part of this. And so you can look up PERT charts. I think they're fantastic. I don't remember what PERT stands for, but I just love them. I think they're like, they just like give me this clarity about, okay, how long is it going to take to get from here to here? Are they always effective? No, they're not always effective, because sometimes you don't know how long it's going to take to do things, you don't know what the end result looks like, etc., which is where we get into like agile project management versus kind of some of the more traditional project management, agile and waterfall, things like this. So sometimes there's unknowns we need to deal with, and so we have to factor that in. But this is kind of the planning process, right? As we say, okay, we have scheduling, we have time that we have to consider, right? So we need to know, okay, we're going to break down what do we need, what are our resources, right? And we're going to sequence out what it is we're going to do, and we're going to schedule out what we need to do based on getting there as quickly as possible. And ideally, if we can, we want to template what it is that we're doing, so it's a repeatable process, or so we can systemize it. If it's a repeatable process, we're going to template it so we don't have to keep replanning over and over again, right? We're going to apply some tools, some automation, we're going to delegate, and now we're going to be able to get, our people are going to get a lot more done, we're going to do a lot less, we're freed up to do more valuable things and keep growing that company. So that's the built to last. So this is like a great starting point. We're going to delve into, so this is a lot about this, doing those things right, bordering a little bit on doing the right things, okay? We're going to talk about one more thing on doing those things right, and then you can also check out the video on doing the right things, which is by far the most important, highest impact. So if I was to like frame out what are the highest impact, we started doing the right things, number one, built to last, number two, and then, you know, organizationally, planning becomes, so the larger your organization, the more planning matters, okay? If it's just you, you know, hard to say about which of these come in. Well, and there's the last one, which is extremely important as well, okay? So, but order of impact, doing the right things, built to last, and then we worry about everything else after that, okay? I hope that helps. We're going to look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.